call God to have his way in us. And then the first obstacle that we have, we're going to be like, Lord, take it away because I can't take it that anymore. But 5 minutes before, we say, God, have your way in me, right? So, and as we're going to speak about Ruth today, I believe the way I see it, that's what she didn't even say it. She just let God have his way on her life, right? So I'm going to ask you to open Ruth 1:8, please. So I'm reading for NIV version. I don't know if, no, that's not the same one, but let's go. So then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each one of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Right? So now I want to jump to the 16th. But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or to back up from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." Can we bow our heads and pray to God? Father, I ask you today, Father, to empty off myself. Father, that no sound come out of my lips that is not from your throne today, Father. Father, that you can minister not just in your church heart, but in my heart and my life as well, Father God. Father, I ask you to captivate our minds and hearts right now to be concentrated only on the word that you have prepared for us today, Father, in the name of Jesus, amen. So, I believe most of you are familiar with the story of Ruth, but I want to bring that story back to our days today, to our moment today. So back then, Ruth was a Moabite, right? And then Elimelech and Naomi went to migrate to her country because of a famine that was going on in Judea, right? So it's very hard for us to picture that today because we are immigrants in this country. Just picture with me. Just come with me for a little bit. Imagine an American girl, like, living in pamper as the American can pamper us, right? With safety, with health care, with justice and all that. And then meet a little guy, fall in love with him, marry him. And little after they married, her father-in-law passed away. And that's okay. He was an old dude. And my husband's still here. And, he's a kind of distant family member, but I'm still have my hubby, right? Sooner after, her husband died as well. And her brother-in-law too. So they end up in her country, here in America, with her mother-in-law, which is not a native, with her sister-in-law, which was a native, and herself. Now just imagine like an American girl that she probably went to college, she has her life, she has her family and everything else. Her life was built up and rooted right in her country, right? Her costume and her language and everything else. But that old lady, Naomi, presented to her the living God. The Bible doesn't talk much, at least into where I study, doesn't show much how was the costume for her country and for her family and on and on. So what makes me see that what Naomi and her family presented to her, which was the living God, was bigger and greater than anything else that she has on her homeland, with her family and everything else. Okay, let's come back to our reality. So let's pretend that girl, she married a Venezuelan or how do you say, Chilean guy. So nowadays, those two countries are not too far to go, right? And Naomi come to them and say, "Hey, I'm old, I don't have nothing here, I don't have my sons, and you girls have your families, so I'm gonna go back home and let's go. Let's pack it up and let's take the road, whatever. Not today we take a plane. Let's take the road. So they packed, but before they leaving, Naomi come to them and say, hey, girls, go back to your family. You know, you guys have a reason to stay. You guys have a stable life. Maybe you guys can get married again, as she blessed them to find a peace and a home on a new husband. But you have to consider, have to go back to that time and consider that a widow at that time, she was supposed to live on the mercy of her community. Now it's not just one widow, so it's an old lady widow with the two young ladies widow with her too. So in our words today, we're going to say it's a three losers together, right? Right? So it's going to leave you on the mercy of the society. Now imagine this American girl going to her mother-in-law and saying, hey, you know what? I don't care. Just think about it if you have the guts to tell this to your mother-in-law today. Where you go, I go. Where you live, I live. Where you die, I will die. Your God will be my God. And your people will be my people. And then you go back to Chile. Or you go back to Venezuela to, you know, and go live with her. For me, she's screaming out loud, Lord, have your way. She was so thankful to Naomi to present it to her that new life. That, if I could use that word, she was reckless of the consequences that will come because she didn't care, because what she received from Naomi was greater than anything else in her life. To speak the truth, I won't have that courage. I really won't. Like I would try to convince her to stay with me here in my country, and I will take care of her and everything. But go back to her home, serve her God, live with her people. I mean, that's for me, it's above and beyond anything that I could surrender to. So, but on the way, Orpha, which was her other sister-in-law, I don't see that she was wrong. But when your life has a purpose, you take different decisions than others. You are set apart. It's visible when your decisions, it's watched and it's visible, make impact on people's life. So Orpha went away to her family, and nobody ever heard anything else about her. If she died, if she didn't, if she go back to her family, if she married again, if she survived it, whatever. She's gone, right, from the Bible. But even though when Ruth was so thankful to Naomi that decided to go back with her to her country, on the other hand, Naomi, the one who knew the living God, the one who brought to Ruth, you know, the living truth, was bitter. And I can only imagine, on the way back home, Naomi should be saying, poor Ruth, she have no clue what she signed up for. Right? So, but they went back home. So when they went back home, the Bible said that when Naomi got to the gate of the town, the people start greeting her, and she said, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara. And she had the courage to say, because God forgot me. And none of this moment until now, I don't see Ruth saying one word, complaining one time, or regretted one time so far. So, and the Bible says that when they get there was the beginning of the harvesting season, right? So, and nowadays today with all the technology, machines and everything else, it takes a while to the season of harvest to finish. Isn't that right? Now, picture with me back then, how long it would take and how hard and how heavy was this work. So they get there, and Ruth say, now I have to take care of my mother-in-law. There's just the two of us. I'm the youngest one. So let me look for something to bring us, to sustain us. So for me, the action that she goes to the field and to pick up a leftover grains on the floor from the employees, not even to the Lord, but to the employees. I could translate it for the days today. So let me beg an Dunkin' Donut door. So let me get my cup, right? So she's speaking up for the leftover, for the grains left over on the floor. Now, it's puzzled me because a girl that was married, that never have a kids, never complained to don't have a kids, which was kind of cursed back then, and go to a different land, different country, different culture, different everything, and she go to work basically as a beggar, and yet this girl doesn't complain. She doesn't say a word of bitterness. We don't see no words of rebellion come from her. Like the level of grace, of greatness, of thanksgiving that she has on her, it's so deep that it's even unspeakable. And her silence is just flew on her. So, and as she goes to work, and then this guy, the owner of the field, comes to her and tells her, "Who are you?" And then when they tell him who she was, and they tell him that she was the Naomi daughter-in-law, which came from Moab, because she honors her, because she is very thankful to her, and she's doing this kind of job to sustain them, that's moved his heart. That's moved his heart, that he gave orders to his men and to his employees to don't disturb her, even to drop some of the whatever they harvested in there. She takes more than just grains. So, and then I keep imagining, a field, it's a huge place, and it's not close to the city. Usually it's on the side of the city, right? On the roadside. So she was spent, and the Bible says that the man told Boaz that she was the whole day, and she stopped just a little bit to rest, and she keeps working until done. So this girl, she was not just in different land, in different country, on a very bad job, very low job, not getting paid, not complaining. And I'm guessing she probably walked 8 miles a day back and forth to that place. And when she gets home, Naomi asks her, "Whose field were you gleaning?" And then when she told her there was Boaz, so everybody knows Boaz belongs to Elimelech family, and Naomi gets happy because for her savior was somebody that they knew, right? But so far, they didn't change anything. She's still serving her mother-in-law. She's still working absolutely hard. She's still having, in our eyes today, a miserable life. And she could be just back home on her mother's house. Maybe get married again. But she's still thankful to her mother-in-law. So as the time goes by, the Bible says that in the end of the harvesting, when they celebrate the finish of the harvest, Naomi came to Ruth and told her, "Girl, now it's your time. I'm going to marry you now. We're going to take care of this," right? And then Naomi tells her to fix herself, clean herself up, which was a ceremony in the Bible for when you're going to wed, and many other passages. And Ruth, she didn't know much how was the costumes, how's the culture, what actions mean in Judea at the time. So it was easier for her to deal with her husband, brother-in-law, and her in-laws back in her country because they have to adapt to her culture. But now she's living in her land, right? So it was harder for her because she was the outsider now. So Naomi tells her, give her all the instruction to, after when he goes to sleep, she sit close to him and uncover his feet. So it's like crazy information, but what did Ruth did say to Naomi? She just told her, whatever you tell me, I will do. That screamed out loud to me, God, have your way in me. I don't really care about the consequences. I don't care about the outcomes. Have your way in me. She's probably thinking like, uncover his feet? Like, this guy's going to slap me fair and square. Like, she's going to put me in trouble. And after he's sleeping, like, oh, and she didn't even told her to not just uncover his feet, but to sit there beside him until he wakes up and sees her. Okay, curious of me. I say, I have to go. You look like, what does that mean exactly on a Jewish culture? So in a Jewish culture, the feet of the man represent the male member. And what does that mean in this context? When the act of Ruth uncovering his feet, meaning that they have intimacy for the society. If anyone comes to the room and see that his feet is uncovered and Ruth is sitting beside him, meaning they have intimacy. Now I keep imagining, probably Ruth have no clue what does that mean, right? But she went and counting involved to it. She told Naomi, whatever you do, whatever you say, I will do it. Now, I'm sorry, I forgot to say in the beginning, the title of my message, it's Gratitude Brings Honor. So, and then Boaz woke up. And then he, like a little in the darkness, he asked her, who are you? And then she told, I'm such and such and whatever. And when he saw his feet uncovered, he probably thought like, she's in trouble. That's gonna shame her. And she's a decent woman. I can't do this to her. And he told her, stay here until you can be recognized for the darkness, and then you leave. Because the action that you're doing right now, it's more honorable than what you're doing on the field for your mother-in-law. Because what you're doing now shows me that I am your guardian redeemer. And you did not go look for a younger, older, or a richer man. You came to me to keep up Elimelech families going on. So what does that makes me understand? Boaz wasn't like, a Brad Pitt and handsome dude or whatever is the hot guy today in Hollywood, right? And it shows me one more time that Ruth, she didn't care about the outcomes. She only cared what her heart and her mind and her purpose was setting for, was to thankful and to be grateful to Naomi. So let's follow the pattern again to see what's the pattern of a grateful heart is. So she left her family and her country. And the Bible said, and I'm a woman, okay? And the Bible said it's better. It's the worst life if you can have a bitter woman beside you inside the house. Now, she left her home, her family, her country to be living with a mother-in-law, which means already something to every culture in the world, bitter and older. It's already high price right there. Like, that's it. This was enough to be given enough to say, no, Lord, that's way too much for me. I can't do this. Like, no, not for me. But no. And then she not just keep honoring her in silence and is sponsoring her and working on the worst way possible. She didn't get a job for modeling or like, to be sitting in an office just checking her Instagram and stuff. She didn't expose herself to find a new husband. Naomi was the one who told her, I need to marry you till you have a better life. And then she's not settled, but she went to a guy who was way older than her, but a good man, which she didn't even know. And that man being honor Ruth over and over. Every time they meet each other, he protects her, he tells her word. And then this last time that they meet together, he told her that her action was more honorable than everything else that she's already have done for Naomi. Because she was humble. She sacrifices everything in her youth, her beliefs, her family, her traditions. You could say her life, because if she married him and she lives a long time, she had to stay with him. All because of gratitude. And I see Ruth as a blind. She puts no measure. And if you read this story over and over, Ruth didn't have a plan B. Actually, she didn't have not even plan A. She just went. She used in her own words, wherever you go, I'll go. Wherever you die, I'll die. And she did even call a severe punishment from God if she leaves Naomi on the way. Are we aware of this level of gratitude today? Like sometimes we read it just as Bible and as a love story, or like, or as a happy ending us, or as a law. I mean, I think I never studied so much a text to preach as I did that one, which was I think my kids, they know like root back and forth all the ways. But it is so interesting. We always hear that nothing in the Bible it is in vain. But it's absolutely true. Very few words Ruth have on her own book. Other people speak way more than she did. And yet, she speaks so loud about being great for something. So let's go back to the point that Boaz, when he woke up and found her. So he knew that she was Naomi's daughter-in-law, right? And then he promised her, he said, yes, I'm your redeemer. I'm your guardian redeemer. But there is somebody else have a right before me. Ruth never brought up about the age thing. Boaz brought up to her that he was an old dude and she could have a better, but she chose because of Naomi. So, and then he promised her, say, hey, in the morning, before everybody can see you, go back home and wait. You'll get this settled today. I will talk to our family member to see if he wants to redeem you. And if he doesn't want to, I promise you, I will take you. I can just imagine Boaz going to this family member, which is the Bible doesn't talk about his name, doesn't say, doesn't show anything else besides just that conversation. That he say, yo, cuz, Naomi's back. She has some lands, and I know you love investing in the city. You want like a lot of things in here. So she's selling Elimelech lands. Are you interested in that? Because if you're not, you have the right before me. I would take it. But once I know that you would like to invest it, I came to tell you. I can show you even the land, how nice it is. And the dude say, yes, of course, I want to. Like, I'm an investor, just, and then Boaz tells him, hey, oh, there is a catch. There is a little catch, right? The lands comes with Ruth. And I heard Ruth liked to party hard. So this family member, told him that, no, if he has to marry Ruth, he don't want to because he's going to end up spending money, which means giving the right to Boaz to marry Ruth and buy the land from Naomi as well, right? So, and then this family member give him his sandals. So that you don't need to study, just read the book, and then you know what's giving the sandal means to each other at the time. It's well explained in there. So, and the Bible said that Boaz married Ruth, right? And he not just married Ruth, but very soon, Ruth gave birth to a son. And the beauty doesn't finish just there. So Ruth coming, thanking and honoring Naomi hardcore since the beginning, moving the country, working basically as a slave, married with the old man to keep Naomi families going on. She has a kid, right? But she didn't just enjoy her kid. The first thing Ruth did was take her son and put it in Naomi's laps. That shows me like on and on and on. It's the endless gratitude actions from Ruth. Her heart was so full of gratitude. She has no measure. Gets to a point that the woman in town told Naomi that Ruth was better than 7 sons. 7 men. Today, men still a provider, but back then, men means life guaranteed. Men means our family is gonna go on. Men means I don't have to worry about it as a woman. And the own woman's own town recognize Ruth as equals as a 7 men. This is when I don't understand. Some people say, like, that God doesn't give a power to woman and compare one woman to 7 men right here, right now, right? So the honor come to Ruth so naturally because of her gratitude that we don't even see. We read it just as a love story. We read it just, oh, poor Ruth. Yes, poor Ruth. But did you see what God did to her? There is nothing written here saying that the people went abusing Ruth because she was an immigrant. Boaz, the moment he laid eyes on her, he protected her, even having no idea if he's going to marry her or not. And by the way, just to recall, when she uncovered Boaz's feet, and then he gave her a pint, if I'm not wrong, of grains. That's equals like a 55 pounds today. Now imagine this woman, just to see what kind of life that Ruth used to have, carry a 55 pound on her back, not lifting. Most of the job that we apply, they say, oh, are you able to lift 50 pounds? Just lift. No, Ruth was carrying on her back from the field to her house 55 pounds to bring food for her mother-in-law. Some of us don't even order a delivery for our own parents today. Oh, she knows how to call. She can speak English, right? She can call in our place and do it. So because of that gratitude of Ruth, look at this. Ruth, she was in her country, married to a guy. She did not have kids, neither her sister-in-law. The Bible doesn't show us the economic life that they used to live there, but we guessing that was okay because Naomi and Elimelech left Judea, left Bethlehem because they were in a famine. So if they were in a famine and left to Moab, it's because they were having better economy right there, right? So, and then she works very hard, and God protect her from day one. Have a mother-in-law who's bitter, which she's never complaining about it. And then a mother-in-law that set her up to get married with an old dude, and she never complained. Now, the best of it, that I'm sure wasn't on the wildest dream that Ruth could have a plan for her, that she will become a great-grandmother of King David. Can you imagine yourself saying like, oh, I'm going to pass through all this. I don't think in our days today, even God come to us and say, hey, you're going to suffer. Like, you're going to pass through all that whatever you can bear in this land today for 3 years. But my son's going to come for your line. My son, you're going to have your name in his history. Would you agree? Would you say, hey, I'm up to? Sign me in. The most of us won't. And a lot of us will say yes, but we'll give in the middle of the way. Because it is a hard burden to take it. And Ruth did not born a believer. She has all her culture behind her. Because when Naomi tells Orpah and her to go, Naomi say, go back to your mother, go back to your gods. So Naomi, on her desperation, she even give it up to talk about our God, the living God. But Ruth, no. She went on. And every step of the way, without asking, without seeing, God was honoring Ruth. And that's took me like 3 or 4 days to bring me to my conscience, like how grateful I am for the little things. How grateful I am, because sometimes we see like, oh, okay, I got a promotion, or the police did not stop me. Oh, but because I turned right, or because I turned left, or like minimal things in life that happens that we don't even see, and you think because we were wise. And we never thank God for what He did on the front of our very own eyes. And can you do the math? Can you imagine how many things we are not thankful, and we won't be able to be thankful because we're not seeing it, but He doesn't stop doing it? How many times God could save our lives, our family, destruction, losing companies, losing work, getting disease, whatever, and He didn't even show us. And most of us, because of our days today, we take I don't even say 1 day a year. We take 1 lunch a year to give Him thanksgiving. Because on the evening, we're thinking about Black Friday. Awkward silence. So, My question for us today, are we aware? Can we analyze our attitudes lately? Are we really grateful to him? I won't say not even for what he did, for what he's doing to us. Or we're just walking by, blind, deaf, and ungraceful. Can we tell ourselves that from today on, I want to have a reckless gratitude as Ruth did? Because we always look for the honor before being grateful to it. But in Ruth's case, if you want to follow the gratitude pattern, Ruth, she was grateful without thinking about being honored. And because of this, she is who she is today. She wasn't a Jew, and she's becoming from the Jesus line because of gratitude. And if God did to her because she really surrendered to him, he can do to all of us. No matter where you're at, no matter how ungraceful we are today, I challenge you to sleep on it today and change for a certain time, to be intentional of your actions, to intentional of the daily things happens in your surrounding, and be thankful, no matter if it's good or bad, and be thankful for it. And if it is bad, say, I know, God, all things work on behalf of those who loves you. I know even though right now my heart saying that's not good for me, but I know it will be good because I gave the control to you. Because I trust you, because I am thankful to be under your administration. It's just a thought. So Ruth was introduced to Jesus' line because she was grateful to Naomi. And she's married Boaz. Who was Boaz's mother? Wasn't Rahab? Rahab. And Rahab was a Jew? Why Rahab was introduced into Jesus' line? Why? Because of faith. Because of radical faith that she believed on the God for the two spies that came in. It's just a thought. It's nothing to do with the word today. So that's my challenge for us today. Let's analyze how grateful are we being for the little things and for the big things. Jesus is already born. Jesus already redeemed us. But there is so many other great things that God can do in our lives because of gratitude. I really hope that word changes you, because that word breaks me down in pieces, and I'm still trying to put myself together. I hope that word impacted the way it did impact in my life. And I hope that Ruth, you can see her in a different eyes starting today. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Come on, everybody. Can you stand on your feet? Thank you, Jesus. A heart of gratitude towards God for the minimal things he does in our lives. what I gather from this message